For most of human history, before writing became ubiquitous, poetry was the most common means of cultural transmission. Rhyming speech was probably the first means of group entertainment for hunters, gathered around a fire. In this game and entertainment, everyone was trying to say something. The rhyming sentence, and thus the play with words, began to create a rhyming sentence, and this is how the first human poets appeared. Aside from entertainment, people memorized rhyming words. And before the invention of writing, poems were the most reliable means of writing, transferring information between human groups and to future generations, a method that is still followed today. Mankind never left the tradition of collecting and rhyming words around the fire, and long after the age of hunters and after the settlement of people in villages and cities, people continued to entertain themselves by composing poetry at parties and night parties. In this video, we want to introduce you to the ranking of the top poets of history. The criterion of this rank is the talent of the poet in writing poetry, the amount of poetry, the quality of poetry, etc. What is certain is that Iran is the richest country in poetry and literature, and ghazal, Masnavi are probably the most popular poetry styles. Number 1. William Shakespeare was an English playwright, poet, and actor. He is considered one of the greatest writers of literature in the world, and his works have had a great impact on literature and art. Shakespeare wrote about 38 plays during his lifetime. Some of his most famous works include Hamlet, Romeo and Juliet, Macbeth, Othello, The Shepherds, and the Sonnets. William Shakespeare's works continue to be admired and analyzed due to their variety, depth, and dealing with human and social issues, as well as the use of beautiful and strong language. He is also known as one of the founders of the Elizabethan theater and played an important role in the development of plays and theater in that era. William Shakespeare died on April 23, 1616, and was buried in the mysterious church in Stratford upon Avon. The importance and influence of William Shakespeare in world literature and art is very great, and his works are still studied and performed. Number 2. Jalaluddin Rumi, known as Maulavi, is one of the greatest Iranian poets and mystics. He was born in the 13th century in the city of Balkh in Afghanistan and died in Konya in Turkey. His works are mainly written in Persian language. Maulavi is known as the founder of the Sama school and the Samarkands. In his life, he worked as a religious teacher, poet, and philosopher. His works include Diwan, Shams, Tabrizi, Masnavi, Mawani, and a collection of letters and articles. In his works, Maulavi mentions topics such as love for God, repentance, and coming to God. He emphasizes love for God and love for all creatures, and believes that love can be a way to reach the truth in God. Using a simple and strong poetic style, Maulavi has been able to convey his deep feelings to the reader. He makes extensive use of examples and natural images to express complex concepts in simpler language. Maulavi and his works have had a great impact on Iran's culture and tourism. With his ideas and values, he is known as one of the greatest poets and mystics in the world, and his works are still admired and respected until today. Number 3. Virginia Woolf was an eminent English writer and feminist. He was born on January 25, 1882 in London, and died on March 28, 1941, in the same city. He is known as one of the greatest writers of modern literature, and his works have had a profound impact on literature. Virginia Woolf is one of the writers who used to describe and visualize the interiority and mentality of the characters in her works. He especially used this method in the novel To the Lighthouse and The Brick House. Mrs. Dalloway. This new and innovative method of Virginia Woolf made her known as one of the pioneers of stream of consciousness writing. Virginia Woolf faced mental problems and depression in her life. He committed suicide in 1941, and this had a great impact on his works. In a letter he wrote to his wife, he mentioned the reasons for suicide as inability to bear the most brokenness, and inability to bear the most brokenness and inability to cope with mental illness. Virginia Woolf's works include novels, stories, essays. Some of his famous works include Brick Houses, The Ability to Remember, The Waves, Stone, and Leaving Home. In her works, she addressed issues such as gender, power, identity, and social relations, and is known as one of the leading feminist writers. Number 4. Friedrich Nietzsche. Nietzsche was a German philosopher, poet, and writer who is very important in the history of philosophy. He has presented various ideas in various fields, including philosophy, morality, ethics, religion, politics, and culture. One of the important concepts that Nietzsche developed is the death of God. By this phrase, he meant the loss of the society's belief in religious and spiritual values and principles, criticizing religion and the concept of God. Nietzsche believed that man should create the meaning and value of his life and rely on himself to choose the path and goals of life. Nietzsche also introduced the concept of strong will. He believed that strong will shows man's ability to accept and change his destiny and take responsibility for his actions and choices. He believed that a strong will can lead a person to a spiritual and creative life. Nietzsche also referred to the concept of Obermann, which means a person who is capable of transcending concepts and values. In 1869, at the age of 24, he obtained the chair of classical philology at the University of Basel, which is considered the youngest person of its kind in the history of this university. In 1879, he resigned from his position at the University of Basel due to the illnesses that accompanied him throughout his life, and devoted the next decade of his life to completing the core of his works that he had written before. He considered his illness a blessing that gave birth to new thoughts in him. In 1889, at the age of 44, he completely lost his mental powers and suffered a complete mental breakdown. The reason for this happened was a hereditary disease, softening of the brain, from his father, which killed his younger brother early in life and his father at the age of 35. He spent the remaining years of his life under the care of his mother and then his sister, Elizabeth Forster. Nietzsche passed, and finally, in the year 1900, he died after suffering from pneumonia and multiple strokes. Number 5. William Wordsworth is one of the greatest English playwrights and poets. He is best known for his historical and tragic plays, including Hamlet, Macbeth, Richard II, and Julius Caesar. Wordsworth was recognized as a member of the English Poets Society during the Elizabethan era, and his works are still very popular and admired. Wordsworth worked in a variety of literary genres, including tragedy, comedy, history, and sonnets. He is also known as a very important and influential poet in English literature, and his love poems and sonnets are famous. Wordsworth is known as one of the greatest playwrights in history, and his works have a great influence on literature to this day. He is known for his ability to create complex characters, beautiful and moving language, and rich descriptions. Wordsworth is known as one of the greatest English language writers in history. Thank you for watching this video until the end. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe to our channel for support.